I want, of course, to acknowledge the esteemed presence of our Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, and to thank him for showing the fullest support and solidarity with the work we are doing in the area of national security. His presence signals much about the importance to which the government put on the security development in our country. And so I am personally delighted, and we all are delighted, that he has taken time to come to be with us. I want also to thank my parliamentary colleague and the Minister of Agriculture, et al., the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, for making time to be here, our Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mrs. Akila Byron Nisbet, and Mr. Nisbet, the Excellencies of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, including Ambassador Michael Powell, Ambassador George Xu of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and of course the Excellencies of the Consular Corps, and we are particularly delighted by the presence of Ernest Amry, who is here. I want, of course, to recognize the High Command of the Police Force, led today by Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilroy Brandy, and the ACPs. We have ACP James, responsible for operations. We have ACP Merlin Hughes, Dolly Hughes, better put, with responsibility for arts and technology. And of course, we welcome the presence of other units of the national security infrastructure. And in that regard, I recognize the presence of our fire chief, Mr. Ogaro, our commander of the Defense Force, Anthony Comrie. Could we give Comrie a special hand of welcome back to Tabernacle from where it all began? So we are delighted to have him with us. I want also to recognize the private sector representatives, the students who are here, and all those who have been partnering with the National Security Ministry, in particular Ross University, who is represented here. It is important that I also recognize within our midst the former Commissioner of Police, Austin Williams, and to thank him for taking time to come. Let's give him a special round of applause. And of course, I also want to recognize the presence of the former Fire Chief, Mr. Hester Rollins, who is here, and he too hails from Tabernacle. Equally, we want to recognize the National Security Advisor, Major General Stuart Saunders. Could we give him a hand of welcome? We want to recognize equally to Mr. Ellis Hazel. He represents the Whitegate Corporation, and they made a substantial contribution financially to this particular facility. I want, of course, to bid welcome to all who are here, in particular those of you who are from Tabernacle and the environs. And of course, we pay tribute to the media representatives who are here. Today is a big day for us in St. Kitts and Nevis. And you would have deduced that from all the presentations and remarks you had heard before. We have signaled that we are moving our national security infrastructure forward, way forward into the future, by the commissioning today of the most modern forensic lab anywhere in the Caribbean, and at least only 6 of its kind in the world. So we are doing some good things. This then is a historic moment of which we all should be proud. The peace, order, safety and security, and good governance are responsibilities which our cabinet takes very seriously. Today, we enhance our capacity to consolidate the peace, the safety and security of our country through the addition of the forensic laboratory. Since work on the physical infrastructure of this brand new state-of-the-art forensic lab began some 6 months ago in November 2017, I came here as often as I could every morning as part of my regular health walks through the community. And I would pass by the site here to inspect the progress of the project and to engage the workers, giving my input where necessary. Indeed, when I first came on the site, I wondered what we were doing. And then as I made several repeat visits, this site began to take on shape and substance. And I knew that something good was going to grow up here. Something good would be created, and that our national security would be better for the investments that the government has made in this particular structure here. Our Trinidadian brothers, they came to know me because too often I was on the site. And of course, when I came on the first occasion, they didn't know now would they believe that was the Prime Minister walking around so casually, coming on the site, talking to people, asking questions. Of course, in Trinidad, Prime Ministers don't walk around so casually. The minister would not be doing that kind of engagement. But I want to again thank them for the expertise that they have brought, and clearly they showed themselves to be consummate professionals in this development and in the manner in which they executed work on this facility. So I want us to give a round of applause to Clive Wickham, the Managing Director, and his own man of business here, and the job every day was Alexis St. Louis. Could we give him a round of applause? If Alexis is here, could he come forward? Come forward. He's looking quite different and smart today than he was on the many days I would have come here. I want to ask his other workers, Keston, Dixon, and Glenroy Navas, to come forward. Somewhere in the middle, Alexis. Come forward quickly, please. These were the three gentlemen that did the high science behind the construction of this facility. I want to thank them. They journeyed every day from St. Peter's, where they live, to come here, and they always were here on time. Again, a round of applause. Thank you three for coming. They were assisted by our own young people. And I don't know how many of them are here, but if they are here, they should come forward. Elton Morris, from right here in Tabernacle. Samuel Norford, Karen Pear, and Johannes Rollins. Let's give our own young people a round of applause. Raise your hands and the others. So let's give Mr. Norford a bigger round of applause for representing all of his co-workers. And it tells a lot that so few people could have constructed this facility and brought this facility to completion on time and in budget. Give them another round of applause. These workers were prepared, as we would wish every worker in our country to be prepared to deliver the task efficiently and efficiently. They were concerned that they should never be behind in the delivery of the work. This is very important, because too often in the public sector, we get caught up with time. And it is always we get caught up, well, it is time to leave. Leaving the task undone. It is 4 o'clock. No matter what the task, it is time to leave. It is a bad habit which we have to unlearn as we become more task-focused, as we become more concerned about productivity in the country. It cannot be just time, but how much we would have accomplished within a particular time. Critically important for the advancement and development of our country. And so I was pleased when a few Saturdays I came here and work was happening on the site, because they appreciated that this lab should be delivered at the promised time. And whatever was necessary for the task to be done, giving up of their Saturdays, they did that to ensure its completion. But there were also Sundays when I came here. And on Sundays, they were here too, committed to ensure that the task is being done. It is one of the lessons that we have to appreciate. A day is a day. And the Sabbath was not made for man, but perhaps man for the Sabbath. Critically important. It goes back again to our perception of work. Are we here to get the job done within time, or any time matters? It is a critical rethinking of our approach to work that will make the difference, and whether we make progress or we retrogress. Sometimes the focus on time results in the shortening of the productive effort that we make to our country. And so I want to commend the industry which I saw exhibited here to all of us in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I hope, just as those who built this facility was prepared to focus on the task, those who will now be working in the facility will be even more concerned that they deliver results. And when you have to go the extra mile, we can hold on you to deliver the job. On time, critically important that the discipline that we see exhibited during construction, that is maintained throughout. This government, of which I have the privilege and the honor to lead, recognize that the peace and the quiet and the progress and prosperity of the country are things over which we must give all our considered attention. And that is why we have been investing more and more in the national security infrastructure. We have been investing in people, investing in programs, and almost every aspect of the national security has been impacted by good resources by this government. Year after year, in every budget presentation that we have made, we have increased the allocation to national security. In 2017, we disbursed 72 million EC dollars to national security. That was almost 5 times the allocation of 15.3 million allocated in 2014. And in 2018, we committed 75.5 million, the largest allocation ever to national security. We did that because our inheritance was a bad one. When we came to office, we had a situation where the national security infrastructure was more or less in shambles. Dilapidated police stations in St. Paul's, in Newcastle, in Nevis, at Old Road, at Sandy Point, to name a few. The army barracks were inadequate, as was the Coast Guard headquarters, and added to the plight was an inadequate vehicle fleet, demoralized workers, low detection rates, and an uncooperative public in reporting crime. In order to consecrate the future, my government has been tackling all these problems and issues and more. The culture of silence by the public in respect to crimes meant that alternative mechanisms, science and technology, had to be brought into vogue and practice in order to restore public safety and security. Your government, our government, rose to the occasion. We fast-tracked the installation of the CCTV in the Bastille Belt and its outskirts, including Connery, Buckley's, Shadwell, and Limekiln. And we have trained both police and civilians in their use, taking some of them as far away as Taipei in Taiwan to ensure they become familiarized and professional in the monitoring work at our CCTV project. We have now completed phase 1, and we are about to start phase 2 of the CCTV project, which will cover more of our rural communities. I want to thank the Whitegate Corporation for volunteering to provide support when we get there for the CCTV project for the region from Deep Bay to Watleys. Let's give the Whitegate Corporation a round of applause for volunteering to provide support. And equally, I want to thank the government of Taiwan through its ambassador, Mr. George Xu, who is here, who has pledged support for the continuing work. Ambassador, would you stand and would we give him a nice round of applause? This project is one which we will see to a good conclusion, because in the context of the reduce in the willingness of our people to come forward, we have to find, in the words of, I think, our forensic experts, Ram Narayan, I got it right, Ram Narayan? Yes? We have to find alternative eyes, and that is what the CCTV represents in this regard. The state-of-the-art equipment which you have heard, it's the first of its kind to be used in the Caribbean, which is being housed here at this new forensic lab, should help us produce significant results. This, coupled with the top-notch forensic training, the equipment we have purchased for the police force, is becoming increasingly instrumental in securing ironclad evidence to charge suspects and to ensure that our cases prevail in court. In this regard, I want to commend Mr. Mervyn Darby Allen. He is here with us, and he has been a facilitator in a course in investigative techniques. Mr. Allen, could you stand, and could we give him a round of applause? Thank you much. And we thank your wife for accompanying you. Equally, just this week, we had another high-level training at the police training school, where we brought in the best of the best, all the way from a training academy in Israel to provide training to middle-level officers. In other words, this government is going all the way to ensure the peace and safety of our people. And we want to ensure that, of course, having brought the investment, that we will receive a peace dividend. I want to urge all who are here and all of us everywhere to do more than we have done in the past, to make St. Kitts and Nevis what it must always be, a zone of peace, the best place in which anyone can live, the best destination to visit, and the most progressive nation in the world. We deserve to be that way. Long time ago, when Marcus Garvey visited the region, and he had the privilege to come and to see St. Kitts and Nevis, he marveled at our beauty. You could hardly find a more charming, beautiful, picturesque island with the awesome peace that St. Kitts and Nevis as a twin island federation offers. Marcus Garvey marveled not just at the physicality of the country, the space, our mountain, our landscape and seascapes, our valleys and hills, but the awesome beauty of our people. It is that awesomeness that we have to bring to the fore again. It is this desire to preserve a rich history of a proud people wanting to make their mark in an international space, because that is what it is. In every area in which we engage, we are being compared not just with another small island, we are being compared with the rest of the world. And so we have to think big. We have to imagine again that we can be the best of the best. Like Kim Collins rose to international fame and survived to be the best performing athlete of his own age from all countries, small and large. So too all of us can aspire to greatness. When the IMF comes to examine our accounts and our fiscal, they compare us with the rest of the world. And we are always proud when they say, by every indicator that is important in the assessment of the economic profile of our country, St. Kitts and Nevis is leading. We equally feel a sense of pride when the International Telecommunications Unit examined 176 countries, and a judge that St. Kitts and Nevis leads in the OECS is number one. We feel a sense of pride that of 176 countries, our country ranks number 36 ahead of many in the world. We feel a sense of pride that when we are evaluated against all countries, big or small, and a corruption index, they say to us that we are the least corrupt country in the world, or in this part of the world. Number one in the Caribbean, followed by Bahamas. And we are, 3-4 points away perhaps from the US. And they evaluated us not just in terms of the government, because too often people, when they hear corruption, they think of government. But corruption is more pervasive than that. So they look at the judiciary, and would you be surprised that anywhere there's a human being, the probability that corruption can occur is always there. So they evaluated the government, they evaluated the judiciary, and they evaluated other sectors of the country and ranked your country among the least corrupt. I say these things that we are getting accolades, and the judgment that is being brought upon us is not just with respect to how we did last year, but how we are doing with respect to the rest of the world. That is why it is important that we aim always to be leaders. This is what this forensic lab today, which we are commissioning, tells the world. We're small, but we are leading the world. It is not me who says so, because I didn't know till I heard it from Mr. Ramnarine, that the quality of the equipment and therefore the quality of the services that we are being provided here, we have the best facility equipment-wise anywhere in the Caribbean. Give the country and give yourselves a round of applause. And there are only 6 other countries that have the kind of facility that we now boast of. In other words, we are world leaders. And I was happy that he said, not only do we have the newest facility, not only do we have the best facility within the region and 6 in the world, I am sure based on what he said about the training and certification of those who work here, we have top-notch people in this facility. This is critically important. I want them to ask those members who are part of this forensic team to stand so that we can give them a round of applause. Thank you all and congratulations on the success of your training. We are expecting quite a lot from you. We are expecting quicker results, and we are expecting a much more comprehensive response to the issues of criminal activity in the country. Mr. Ramnarine promised us that we can make a difference if we were to give him the resources. And it took quite a lot of money to get to where we are now here. So I hope, Mr. Ramnarine, that you will deliver the peace dividend which we are expecting. I am happy that you have come to Tabernacle. When I was growing up, we used to sing a song. If you live in Tabernacle, you're a lucky fellow, for there were mangoes and guineas and soursop and all that nature had to offer. Over time, some of the mangoes have gone missing, and the breadfruit and soursop are not so plentiful. But I welcome you to this, my hometown village, and hope that your presence here would add much to the peace and the comfort of our people, not just in Tabernacle, but everywhere in this country. The facility happens to be here because we had good space, as you can see in this facility. It could be anywhere else because it's really intended to serve the entire society. I want, though, to commend all those law enforcement officers from Tabernacle. Some are no longer in active service, but perhaps this comes to remind us of the contribution which Tabernacle has made in law enforcement. I am advised that before my time, or when I was a little boy, the Commissioner of Police, one Mr. Francis, hailed from Tabernacle. We salute him. Let us give him a round of applause. I thank him. When I was growing up, there was a police sergeant, she's no longer in the force, named Anne Julius. I think she was one of the few women, very early o'clock, who had served in policing. Let's give her, in her absence, a round of applause. Dolly, was she there before you or you came after? Before? See, Dolly stand. Dolly is the highest ranked female in the St.Christopher and Nevis police force. And Dolly came after her. And to Dolly's credit, I shouldn't say it, but I've already started. Dolly married a man from Tabernacle. So we are going to take some credit for that too. There are several other persons here who had given outstanding contribution, and I equally hail them. Former Commissioner Austin Williams, could you stand? You have played lots of domino here after being the commissioner. We welcome you in commemorating your work. The force chaplain, Mr. Erickson Cumberbatch, was a police officer. Who would have thought? And we have Joyce Julia somewhere here. Let's give her a round of applause. And to thank her, Joyce, could you stand? Thank you very much. I want to thank Hester Rollins. Before he became fire chief, he was an inspector in the police, and we thank him. There are several others. Gideon Nisbet and his brother, John O'Loughlin, even Willie Paul, now William Rodriguez, was a police officer. Let's give Willie Paul a round of applause. And right here at the fire station, we have John Anderson Smith, who was a police officer before he became a fireman. And Jackie, Inspector Jacqueline Brown, who is at immigration, we commend all of you and thank you for your service. I want to end really, and of course I'm asked and reminded of Anthony Comrie, who before he became a soldier was a police officer. So the police force seemed to be the genesis from which all good things are formed and shaped. We welcome him in his elevated position now as commander of our defense force. The investment in people is important. And in that regard, I also want to say it's not just about the hard investment in the facilities, in the forensic lab, but our new outreach program of reaching people where they're at, helping the victims of crime to recover and come back again, better prepared to be part of society. I commend Dr. Neil Stryton, who is here, and his wife, who are leading a program. Could you stand? of social intervention, meeting the victims of crime, outreaching to the gang leaders, and giving them a message of redemption. I want to hail our efforts at the Explorers Group. We have youth groups in Molyneux, in Shadwell, in Sadlers, in St. Peter's, and we want to have them in every policing district. When I was growing up, there was the brownies, or there were brownies and Girl Guides and Boys Brigades and 4-H, which Willie Paul at one time provided leadership for. Those things seem to have disappeared. Teacher Miss Iselma Springer, Teacher Vanta Archibald, Teacher Susanna Lee, all those provided leadership and support for much of those community groups. We are now attempting through the Explorers to give our young people a steady base. My final admonition is for you again to say no to crime and say no to drugs. In the debate that is now going on about the legalizing of marijuana, a lot of reckless statements are being made. For you, the mothers and the fathers and the adults, you have to stand firm on a point of principle. For all your years, you look around the community and you see what is happening, and you see who is smoking, and you see what is happening to them. You see our children who they have fixed up and mixed up in marijuana and hard drug substance, and as bright as they shone, and their future prospect was so encouraging, almost by osmosis, their lives have been shattered. What greater evidence do you need than that you confront every day? What smart man or smart woman could convince you when you pass on the street? You hear the conduct, you see how the bloody smoke without regard for pastor, lawyer, or doctor passing, and you wonder what would happen if we were to legalize this. You must wonder. And when you hear people begin to talk about legalizing the thing, man, free up the herb, you have to wonder, what will become of our society? It is not everything that is done elsewhere will be suited for our own country and society. The time may well come. The time may well come, but it's the time now. And so we have to examine all these things, because these are part of the challenges our young people are facing in primary school, where people are making them sellers of drugs. That is what is happening. And in their homes, their mothers and their fathers are smoking it. In their homes, there are guns. And we know it, and we keep silent about it until some young person dies. And then we have the tears. Tears that we need not have allowed to come to the fore. If you see something, say something. Protect the young people. Do not introduce them to no kind of marijuana. I don't care how much herb they call it. I don't care what healing property they say they have. Protect them from it, and protect them from the alcohol, and say no to that too. These are part of the negative road which we, if we are not careful to speak out about, the minority will get action and the things that they want. And I know saying that, some people will make it now the talk of the town. But I'm saying it in the country to protect the young people of this land that I love. So thank you again, all of you, for coming. Thank you for your commitment to law and order. And I now declare this forensic lab officially commissioned and open for business. And I want to especially thank the visiting delegation from Antigua and Barbuda for coming and gracing us with their presence. We give you a hearty welcome and thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.